and I went to, and I will summarize all this inshallah once we finish Juz' Tabarak. Each Juz' aspects of Islam, and this Juz' that we're in, which is from Mulk to An-Nas, and Mulk to Al-Mursalat, forgive me, the 29th Juz', which is the third cluster. It talks about representation of Islam, representation, because that's an important part for us. We represent our deen within our lives. And in order to represent appropriately, you need certain things. You need a certain amount of knowledge, ethics, spirituality, and behaviors. And that's what the first 4 surahs basically talk about, each one talking about one of these topics, Al-Mulk al-Qalam, Al-Haqq al-Ma'arij. And then it gave us 2 examples of representation and da'wah, because that's what representation turns into. It turns into da'wah. One that was successful, and one that was not. The not was first Surat Nuh, where Nuh did everything right, but it still didn't work out. And the second was the Prophet ﷺ with the jinn. He didn't even know he was doing it, and it still worked out. And the Surat al-Jinn talked about what the pillars of a proper da'wah was. And then after that, you had Muzammil al-Muddathir, which are 2 of the earliest surahs ever to be revealed to the Prophet ﷺ. And I say ever as in they're number 2 and 3, or 3 and 4 and 4 and 5, like amongst the first 5. Very early on. And they talked about what is in the deen for you. Like, what are you doing? What is Islam for you? Islam for you are two basic things. There's what you take from it, and then what you're going to offer from it. So what you take from it is Surat al-Muzammil. You take from it the Qiyam al-Layl, and the Quran, and the Tawakkul, and the Dhikr, and the closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the dedication and devotion, the pieces that will grow your spirit and make you feel fulfilled, and allow you to survive the waves, the violent waves of life. And then there's the part which you offer outwards. Like, what is it that what are the commands that you're going to carry out to the world that's going to be, that's going to affect the world that you live in, that's going to have an impact on the planet and on the people around you, which is what Surat al-Muddathir was. And we talked about that in some degree of depth over the last maybe 5 weeks. The last 3 surahs in this cluster are very simple. There are 3 examples. 3 examples of representation or da'wah. One that is going to be based on tarheeb. Tarheeb as in reverence or fear, right? Talking about punishment. That's the last one, Mursalat. One that's going to be talking about targheeb. Is going to use the narrative of reward or of greed, of wanting something, of desire, right? And one that's going to be talking about intellect, reason, which is the first one, which is what we're going to recite tonight. There are 3 ways for you to bring this deen forward. Like, after you've understood the requirements, you've seen the examples, you know what's in it for you and what you're taking to the world. Here are 3 ways to perform da'wah. It's not all one way, right? The best of them all is the first one. It's the most intimate, and it's the most impactful, which is the one that's based on reason. When you're speaking to the higher part of the human spirit. And then after that, there's the one that's just talking about reward, desire, what's in it, what you're going to get, or what you don't want to be, which is Surat al-Musalat. And if you go home today and just read them, you'll understand what is basically the shara', is the nikah and the halal, that to her father, he has brought forward a mahr, he has brought forward a reputation, he has committed himself to this person for the rest of his life, he is making it clear that he will care for her and her offspring, and he will be the protector and provider, and she is doing the same thing. That's the reason. That's the reasoning, right? In order for the lovey-dovey stuff later on to work, in order for there to be desire and reverence and all those emotions, in order for those emotions to be healthy, it has to be built on something that is concrete and reasonable. It has to be reason. When it's not there, it becomes a cheap way to manipulate other people, which is why in Islam it's absolutely haram for you to go and start talking about all these emotions and within a relationship that is not based on something that is clear, because you're manipulating people. You're playing on their emotions, and that's not fair. You don't play on their emotions without reason first. So that's why this surah, that's why we have these examples. That's why Al-Qiyamah comes first. First of all, let's talk to helpful. It's very helpful, right? A marriage that is based that's all there is between the 2 people. That's not going to work. Like, it's going to be very boring, and it's going to end very quickly. And there has to be some stimulation of emotion somehow. There has to be that desire and that reverence. There has to be something there. But at the same time, emotions without that reason at the beginning is a cheap cheat, basically. You're cheating people, and I see that all the time. Where a lot of pumping of talking about nar and talking about Jannah and talking, but the person in front of you doesn't even understand who God is and why should we be doing this to begin with. That burns out quickly. And people start getting bored of hearing all of this stuff. Because the argument of da'wah is not based on Jannah and nar in its core. It's based on something much more philosophically profound, which is what Surat Al-Qiyamah talks about. Once you establish that and it's clear to you why it's important for you to know Allah and to live as He speaks and as He teaches, then the supplemental part of reward and punishment become very powerful motives to keep you on the track. Because what keeps you on the track is not your reason. That's what puts you on the track. What keeps you on the track is your emotion. It's not the reason. The reason gets you in. It's all these different tracks. What puts you on this one is the reasoning for it. It makes sense. You thought about it. You broke it down. You analyzed it. This is what critically thinking makes. This is where the right win. Now, how do I stay on that and don't deviate and fall off and go in different directions? You need some motivation. When you have good, when you have good rewards and scary punishments, it keeps you on. It keeps you on. Just like driving. You can't drive based on emotion. You have to drive based on reason. You have to know why. Right? But then if you have punishments, it keeps you on the track. It keeps you driving correctly. It keeps you from running the red lights and driving like a maniac. Right? Even though you know the reason, you have the reason, you know exactly what's correct and how to drive. But without those punishments, without those problems, and even with them, unfortunately, most of our community doesn't seem to know how to drive cars. By the way, we have a problem in wellness specifically. I have the majority of people who attend wellness. They're here, they're listening to the Quran, they're in their tears. They walk outside and they turn to Mad Max and they start. Basically, they see Gainsborough as a part of the Formula One track, and then we have the number of people who have lost their licenses and their cars and is ridiculous. And then I spread myself out a little bit into other parts of my community. I found this is a Muslim problem. It's a Muslim problem where we're driving, I don't know what it is, we don't apply our ethics on the road somehow. When we get into our cars, we turn into warriors. This is a war, and I'm out there to fight the world, and they stop and they drive. And I watch people, once I'm standing, and someone yelled at me. I'm a pedestrian, and I'm walking, and someone sped beside me, and they didn't know it was me, and until this day they don't know that I know that they did that. I never brought it up to them because they didn't notice it was me. I wasn't dressed like a sheikh. I was just walking beside Victoria Hospital, and absolute maniac driving. Very muhtaram person, just not on the road, unfortunately. So subhanAllah, the point of punishments. That was a rant I did. But the point of punishments is to keep people on the track of doing what makes sense to them. Right? That's why we have punishments and rewards. It keeps you there. And that's why da'wah is very effective when you do it that way. If your da'wah lacks one of the three, if your da'wah lacks on the reason or lacks on the desire and reward or the reverence of the punishment, then there'll always be a missing piece. But it's better to have the body, in my opinion, than to lack it. Having two wings without a body is useless, but having a body without two wings, you may get somewhere. So I think, which is why Surat Al-Qiyamah comes first. It's the shortest of the three, but it's absolutely the most profound of the three. And it's one of the most famous surahs in the Quran. I don't think there's almost anyone who has at some point in their lives memorized it or recited it or found beauty in it. And we're going to go through it, inshallah, and take our time. I think there's a lot of learning points that we can all benefit from. So we'll start with Surah Al-Qiyamah. Again, it's a Makki surah, as all of these surahs in this juz are, from Mulk to Al-Mursalat. All of them are Makki. None of them were revealed in Medina. Maybe we talked about the verse that exists in Surah Al-Muzammil at the end of it. I pointed out that surah, that ayah, may have been revealed in Medina specifically. Some scholars say it's more before Hijrah, right before Hijrah, but it could be revealed in Medina. And maybe there's an ayah or two in Surah Al-Insan that a few scholars say that it is revealed in Medina. But aside from that, this is a pure Makki juz from Mulk to Al-Mursalat. So we'll start with Surah Al-Qiyamah, inshallah, recitation, and we'll finish, inshallah, just before 9 and let you go. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة أيحسب الإنسان أن لن نجمع عظامه So watch out whenever you have two ayns in a row consecutively, and both of them have a haraka on them. This is where the halq, the throat, doesn't enjoy this exercise. Is an acrobatic for it. So najma'i, najma'i. So it's not najma'a idama. Just some recitations, like Imam As-Susi, he would yadghimha, he puts them together. So lan najma'a idama. There's a recitation that way. That's not ours. So ours, we have to, we do it the fatha and the kasra. So you have to put in the effort. Najma'a idama. So get them all, but get both of them are enunciated appropriately. بلى قادرين على أن نسوي بنانه. بل يريد الإنسان ليفجر أمامه. So let's talk about these first 5 ayats. So he says, لا أقسم. And I've talked about this a number of times in the past, and I'm just going to quickly explain it. So la is to deny something, and uqsim is I swear or I take an oath by something. So he's not saying I don't take an oath by something. He's emphasizing that he takes an oath. Well, why is he? Well, how is that possible if he's saying no at the beginning? So in the Arabic language, what he's trying to say is that I don't have to do it, but I will. In Arabic, have you ever heard someone come up to you, like they'll say "Ma lak alay yamin," meaning I don't have to swear for you, but I don't have to take an oath for you, but I will. So la uqsim means I don't really need to make an oath for you to tell you that this is true, but I'm going to make the oath anyway. So figure of speech in the Arabic language, and so when you say I don't swear by something, you're actually emphasizing the fact that you swear by something, and it's just how kind of the Arabic language works. And I don't want to, I did like a 15-minute thing on this in the past. You can go back and listen to it. So he subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking an oath by the day of judgment. Now, it has to be to a certain degree interesting to you, if it's not, that the first word of command that came after Surat Al-Muzammil was qum, ya ayyuhal muzammilu qum. And he was going to talk to him about taking a stand for himself, whether it's in salah, in Quran, in dhikr, in tasbih, in tawakkul, all these things that helped him alayhi salatu wasalam become the man he became, and helped the Sahaba become the people they became later on. And if we do it right, then it'll help us become people that we would have more strength, right? And then the second surah, Ya al-Muddathir, also the first command is qum, take a stand for the world, take a stand that's going to actually impact the world around you. And then the surah after is going to be called Al-Qiyamah, which comes from the same root, like it's the same root of word. So Al-Qiyamah, they say, or the word Qiyamah can mean from standing, Qiyam, where you're standing for a long time, and that's one way of understanding the Day of Judgment, where you're standing for a long time. Another way of understanding, which is more appropriate in my opinion, Qiyamah is the day where stands are going to be taken. Right now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not taken a stand regarding us. We are left. We are left to our choices and for our desires and what we want to do. We're left. Do what you want. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is not striking people down with lightning every time they decide to do something wrong. That's not how the world is working. He is not taking out oppressors the moment they oppress. That's not what he's doing, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's letting the world, nature function in a certain way. Nature has a lot of interesting aspects to it. Some of them are desirable and helpful, and some of them are painful and difficult, but the world is functioning, and subhanahu wa ta'ala is allowing us to function under his decree, subhanahu wa ta'ala. On the day of judgment, we call it judgment, day of qiyamah, is where there's no more of that. A stand is going to be taken. Meaning a stand of you is going to be taken. You are going to be labeled. And a stand towards you is going to exist. There's going to be a judgment about you, good or bad. Right now, I cannot judge you, and I can't label you, and I definitely cannot label myself. I can't say I am good or I am bad. I don't know. I'm trying to be good. I know that I'm doing a lot of things that are bad, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive me. But I don't know. The final judgment, the stand towards me is not taken. We do this through history. We take a figure that lived, and then we study it and study it and study it. What are we trying to do? We're trying to figure out what stand we take towards this figure, good or bad. We all agreed about Hitler, right? There's a full agreement worldwide. Hitler, not good. We've agreed that this is a bad person. Khalas, we're done. We've decided. Other figures, some figures we know they are good, and some figures they're controversial. Some groups say good and some groups say bad, and it's all depending on who's studying the history and what the criteria they're using and what judgment they're offering, right? We're not supposed to do that, but that's how human beings function, right? Yawm al-Qiyamah is where judgments are going to be taken. Stands are going to be made clear. And those stands are going to be based on whatever stands you took. The Qiyamah is where you're going to be given a final judgment. Here's what you were. But that is going to be based on the stands that you took. What stands did you take in your life? What did you stand for? Based on what you stood for, you're going to get a judgment from Allah. Like He'll stand from you, depending on where you stood from Him. Does that make sense? He will stand from you, subhanahu wa ta'ala, figuratively speaking, obviously, Jalla Jalalullah. On the day of judgment, He will stand from you based on where you stood from Him. But it's a day where there's no longer open. Right now it's open, it's fluid. It's fluid. You could be anything. I have no idea. You could be anything. You could be ranked number 2 or 3 in the world. You could be I don't know. I could be the same. No one knows because that judgment, that stand has not been taken yet. We are taking stands, hoping that the accumulative outcome of all these stands that we take allow us a judgment that is in our favor. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of Qiyamah, where it's not left anymore, there's no more time being offered, no more opportunities. There's no extensions for you to try and change the outcome. Khalas. You can't appeal it. Right? If there was an appeal, then it wouldn't be Yawm al-Qiyamah. If you could appeal it later on and say, I want to redo on my hisab. No, there's no judgment is going to happen. Whatever you hear is what's going to occur. There's no appeal system. Which is why he calls it Yawm al-Qiyamah. Everything comes to a halt. And a full stand is taken by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala regarding everything. What was once obscure, ambiguous, and unknown is no longer going to be any of those things. It's be very clear. He's going to clarify all of it. All 100 billion people that have lived. That's the estimately on earth. All 100 billion of us are going to be offered each a stand of where we stand. What judgment is offered to us. Which is why it's called Yawm al-Qiyamah. It's a very hard day. This is a difficult day. By any measure, it's going to be difficult. Because that's hard. That's hard for people to not have any more, to not have options, to not have an appeal process, not to be able to remove this or change it or abolish it from their record or go back and no, khalas, this is it. Right? In dunya, you get there's a judgment against you. You can go back and appeal. You can get it removed at some point if you're mazlum. In akhirah, that's it. Khalas, you're stuck with this. This is you. This is you. There's nothing you can change about that. And it's painful. It's painful because everything else in this world, you can find a way to go back and do something different and change your legacy, right? And change the definition of who you were and the stands you took. Imagine someone who's been supporting genocide and supporting apartheid and supporting Zionism and supporting evil in this world and is supporting this and supporting that and supporting halal. And they supported it for 60, 70 years and then the last year of their life they decided they were wrong and they supported everything the opposite. They wiped their slate. They wiped their slate and now they changed their stand. But Yawm al-Qiyamah, that's it. That's gone. Whatever you did is what you did. So he swears, he takes an oath, subhanahu wa ta'ala, Yawm al-Qiyamah, with the day where the stands are going to be taken, where there are no more options. There's no possibility for anything to be different. That's the first one. So that's and he uses the name that is of reason. Like the Yawm al-Qiyamah has many names, right? Yawm al-Taghabun, Yawm al-Hashr, Yawm al-Fasl, a lot of words. There's over 16 names for the Day of Judgment in the Quran. Some of them many of them are based on reverence and fear and reminders of fear for us, right? Yawm al-Qiyamah is the one that just talks about the reality of it. The reality of it is that no more judgment is going to be, al-Qiyamah, judgment is not going to be postponed anymore. And stands are going to be established. And everyone's going to be given a value number and a spot, and they're going to know where they belong. And those who are lucky enough to be on the good side will be by default feel very humbled and fortunate to be there. They don't have time to look down on the others because they feel like we just barely made it. They're scared that if they go ahead and change their way they think, they maybe go join them. And the people who are on the wrong side have no way to appeal where they are, so it's done. It's a done deal, and it's very heavy. This part is actually probably the most painful of experiences regarding the Day of Judgment. The lack of ability to change your fate. We don't think about that piece because our fate is always something that we can influence. Like right now, your fate is absolutely in your hands. You're choosing it right now. Like you are making choices that are shaping your destiny and your fate in life. And at any point in life, as you go along, as long as you're breathing and your mind's working, you can change that fate. Yawm al-Qiyamah, it doesn't matter. You may completely change your mind on everything. And you will. I guarantee that you will. Like all of your bad opinions will cease to exist. All of your bad habits, Yawm al-Qiyamah, will cease to exist. All of the evil that you once carried in your heart will go away. All of the hatred that was motivating you will no longer be there. All of the opinions that were based on bigotry and arrogance and racism and whatever other evil ethics that Allah pointed out will no longer exist inside you. You will have a level of iman that is equivalent to the most mu'min person on earth today. Like the most mu'min person on earth today will barely be of level of iman of the worst human being to ever live in dunya, but on the Day of Judgment. On the Day of Judgment, they'll be filled with iman because the Day of Judgment will rid you of all of your bad habits. But there's no point. There's no point for you anymore, meaning you're not getting anything out of it. All of these lessons that you're learning, all the difficulties you're going through, all of the incidents or occurrences that you are witnessing that are changing and molding your understanding of things and changing your opinion, it just won't count. In dunya, anything you go through that is hard will change you, but it will count. Like if it affects you negatively or it puts you through difficulty and you persevere, for example, or you come to a near-death experience and it makes you think about things differently, you make changes, it'll all count for you. It's all changing your fate and your destiny. Yawm al-Qiyamah is not. The ones who are writing the results stopped writing. The book that was once, it has an ending to it and it's closed. No one's watching, listening, or caring at all of what's happening to you. You're done. Your judgment is going to be offered to you. It's either yay or nay, and nothing that happens Yawm al-Qiyamah is going to change that, and nothing that changes, like no changes in your mind. Now, some people, they have a lot of sayyi'at, and the difficulties of Yawm al-Qiyamah will remove their sayyi'at for them, right? But that's different. That's more, it's like as if Yawm al-Qiyamah is a part of the punishment. So if you only had a certain amount of sin, and you get punished for that amount of sin, then you can be absolved by the end of Yawm al-Qiyamah. That's a different story. That's Yawm al-Qiyamah acting as a form of punishment. But your beliefs changing Yawm al-Qiyamah, your stands changing Yawm al-Qiyamah doesn't make a difference because it's the day of Qiyamah. The stand has already been taken. It's been taken. It's done. It's done. The exam is over and the stand has been taken. The results are up. And it's like yelling out the answer after you've given in your paper. It's like giving the exam and then as you walk away, no, it was 7. Sorry, Allah ma'ak. It's done. I don't care. It's whatever's on the paper. Like no one cares. Why? Because you probably talked to someone who's smarter than you and they told you the answer. Which is what happens Yawm al-Qiyamah. Yawm al-Qiyamah, you're surrounded by a lot of good people and you start watching and like, oh, that's how I should have lived. Ah, now I understand. This is how I want to be now. Yeah, sorry. No, that's not how this works. That's not how this works. You have to do this now. The beauty of it is that whatever you do now, it counts colossally. Like it counts in an astronomical way. Small changes you make now, a change that no one sees, you make it now and it absolutely saves you. You can do whatever you want, Yawm al-Qiyamah. You can put on any show. You can perform a repentance that has never been seen in the history of repentance, and it's not going to add up to anything. So that's what Yawm al-Qiyamah is, just as a definition, because it's a word that we often use and we translate quickly and we don't think about, but that's what it means in Arabic. That's where it comes from. He's telling the Prophet, qum, take a stand. Take a stand. Ahl-Kahf, rabatna ala qulubihim idh qamu, when they took a stand. Now, regardless of whether you do, you don't, and then you come to Yawm al-Qiyamah, where stands are going to be taken. So whether you did or you didn't, it's up to you. Right. Second oath, وَلَا أُقْسِمْ. Again, same kind of concept here. Second, number 1. Number 2, nafs al-lawwama. Nafs al-lawwama is your conscience. Right? The more control or leverage it has on the worldly part. It wants the food and the drink and the sex and the status and the leadership and the control and the superiority, and it's greedy and it wants everything for itself. It doesn't care about anyone else and it's extremely selfish. Right? That piece is the worldly part. And then the ruh is the part that has empathy and it has love. The weaker the effect of the spirit, the weaker the conscience. You have these consciences that are dead. They've absolutely starved their spirit. There's nothing left. So they have a dead conscience. So they don't care. They can walk around killing people, stealing, bad-mouthing. They don't feel bad at all. They don't even think about it. It doesn't keep them up at night. Other people have a stronger spirit, so they make a mistake, and then it makes them very upset. And they stay upset with themselves for a long time. Why? Because they're blaming themselves. So the Quran says, an-nafs al-lawwama, the part of the nafs that allows you to blame it. The part of the nafs that allows for blame, to apply blame. The ruh is able to strengthen it so it can apply blame. Who is it applying blame for? It's applying blame to the nafs, not to anything else. If it was applying blame to others, it's no longer a conscience, like it's a waste of time. Anyone can apply blame to other people for their problems. But nafs al-lawwama is the nafs that is blaming itself because of the strength of that ruh, because that ruh has been strengthened. And just like your body starves when you don't feed it, your ruh starves when you don't feed it. Just like your body can't go for very long without water and food and other things that it needs. Your ruh needs Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's where it came from. So it needs all that which is connected to Him, and if you starve your ruh, it will die too. And you'll end up with a dead conscience, and after a while you just don't care anymore. And a lot of people live their lives making horrible mistakes, and they don't care. And they're performing absolutely, just horrific actions that are unimaginable, but they've learned to kill that off. The Quran talks about nafs al-lawwama, right? Because that's the part of reason. This is not, because it's not about, He's not here to, subhanahu wa ta'ala is starting off the surah, talking about the definition of Yawm al-Qiyamah, which is a definition that is reasonable, and talking about the internal motivation that you have within you to be a good person. Aside from thawab and iqab, taking out reward and punishment for a moment, there's a part within you, there's a conscience within you that will push you always to be better. It's there. It's already programmed. It's pre-programmed. It comes in a package. It's ready to go. You turn it on, and then every time you do something wrong, it immediately comes out. It's why the polygraph works. Because a part of you that knows you shouldn't be lying. You don't like lying, right? Your body hates it. That nafs al-lawwama is there. People who beat the polygraph have learned to kill that off so that they don't feel any of it, and they believe their own lies, and they don't feel guilty about doing any of these things. And they it's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing, a skill to master. But that's the internal motivation that you require as a human being, as a Muslim, is a nafs al-lawwama, the part of you that is capable, the conscience that is going to hold you accountable when you make mistakes, that's going to point out for you what is right and what is wrong, regardless of whether you are receiving revelation or not, regardless of whether you are taking anything from external sources or not. You don't always need external sources to know what's right and wrong. A lot of right and wrong comes from an internal programming that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put inside of you, just as a part of your welcome to life package. You have a conscience, and you know. Kids know. It's fun to watch them kind of deal with their consciences. It's fun to watch a kid do something that they were told not to do, right? And then catch them doing it and watch them struggle with whether they say the truth or not, whether you find your 5-year-old hiding behind the couch. What are you doing? And then they don't know what to tell you because they're eating a cookie that you told them 5 minutes ago they shouldn't be eating today. It's silly, but this is an experience for them where they feel, should I have done this? Should I have not done it? Should I lie? What should I? They're struggling. Why are they struggling? Because there's a conscience, right? Your job in life is to strengthen the conscience, help them develop it. If they depend always on external forces, coming back to the same thing, if you're going to always depend on external sources for your right and wrong, which is Jannah and Nar, for example, external sources, it'll run out after a while. If that's all you're depending upon, that will run out. You need the internal source. You need the nafs al-lawwama to be alive. It has to be educated. The nafs al-lawwama gets stronger the more knowledge it has, the more clarity it has, the better companionship, the examples it has, it becomes stronger. And the worse of all that, then the weaker it becomes, right? Same thing with kids. If they don't learn to use their consciences to guide them to do the right thing because it's there, then, and they just depend upon you, where you are rewarding them for good stuff and punishing them for the bad stuff, then once you leave, what do you think they're going to do? If they don't have that developed, that piece of them is not developed, they don't feel it, then there's no hope. And some parents try to helicopter long enough hoping that at some point, it doesn't make a difference. You can leave them at 25 and 35, they will still go. If they don't have a conscience, if you didn't help them develop that internal motivation, the regulation that comes from the inside, they're not going to make it very far in life. So it's an important piece. And it has to happen. These discussions have to occur. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes an oath by two things. He takes an oath by the day where the stands will be taken. And He takes an oath by the part of you that internally motivates you to do the right thing, to take the stand. That stand is not takeable. It's not, you can't take it. You can't actually commit to it if you don't have a nafs al-lawama, that blaming part of your nafs, the conscience. It's annoying, isn't it? It's very annoying. We love to shut it up. We absolutely love to find a way to shut it up because the moment you do it, it starts to nag. You shouldn't have done that. Why did you do that? You shouldn't have done that. And you're like, just leave me alone. Everyone's doing this. You see a young person walking around and they don't want to do, they're doing something wrong, but they're not happy about it. And I see it all the time. I see this poor young person who's doing something wrong. They're not enjoying it. And they hate the fact that they're not enjoying it because everyone around them is enjoying it, but they're not. And I'm like, ya habibi, ya ahmar. You have your conscience still. Like, it's not dead yet, so don't kill it because once it's dead, then yes, you'll stop feeling bad about doing the wrong thing, but now you're lost beyond, it's going to take years to save you, if ever. Like, it'll be years before you find your way back that's one of my criteria. It's not my criteria, but it's the way I filter people out, especially kids. I don't have a criteria for it, but I watch around. When I see a kid has no conscience, I can't keep them around me. Because I can't fix that. I can't fix that. I don't have the utilities here. I don't have the tools here in the masjid for the hour or two or three that I see them to fix their conscience. This is a problem they have to, it's inevitable. Their loss is inevitable. They're going to go get lost for a while. They may come back later on, but they're lost. Because there's a piece of them that's not there. They don't apply blame to themselves when they do something wrong. They don't feel that piece. It's not something that bothers them. They don't feel upset with it. Khalas, there's nothing. I can't help them. I can't. And it may be harsh to do sometimes, but after doing this for 25 years since I was a kid, khalas, I know. I can tease out the kid that lacks that piece. That lacks a nafs al-lawama. It doesn't feel bad when they do something harmful, right? They've lost that piece. They feel actually they need to do it to feel good about themselves. It's been a flip, and you need to save others from that because once that's gone, it's gone. So those are the two oaths he takes subhanahu wa ta'ala in this surah. They're very interesting. Like I told you before, he never takes an oath subhanahu wa ta'ala that's not meaningful. Like I just say wallah al-azim, right? It doesn't mean anything. The word azim is not something that you need to go look into and study and understand what I want to say next. It's just wallah al-azim, I just say that. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes an oath, you have to listen to the oath. What is he swearing by? Because it matters. It's going to matter very much to what he's going to talk about later. And we've talked about this a number of times. And you'll see it more in Surat al-Mursalat and Nazi'at and Shams and Duha. We'll talk about them because there's more of them coming along. But here he said, he's using two anchors of an oath. The description of the day of judgment that is extremely based, that is based purely on the rationale of that day and what's going to happen, and making an oath subhanahu wa ta'ala by the part of the human being that is reasonable, that is capable of reasoning and making choices that will internally motivate them in one direction or the other. The answer to that is not really there. So we're going to talk about it later. So whenever I take an oath, there has to be jawab al-qasam in Arabic. So in English, it's basically, I swear to God, and then I stop. You're waiting for the next piece. What are you swear? What is your oath? What are you taking your oath about? So when he says, uqsimu biyawm al-qiyamah, uqsim bin-nafs al-lawama, what? So he doesn't talk about it immediately. So we're going to bring it, I'm going to come back to this in a few verses. So we're going to keep on going. So he keeps on, and he continues to ask, أَيَحْسَبُ الْإِنسَانُ أَلَّن نَجْمَعَ عِظَامَهُ. Does the human being actually think that we don't have the ability to gather his bones after he dies? And he doesn't feel that's possible? And he feels like that's beyond the ability of a creator to najma' idhamah, that we bring his bones and put them all together again as they were before? Bala, of course we are. Qadireen, we are even capable. Ala an nusawwiya banana. We are capable of even nusawwi is taswiya is when you do something and you achieve equilibrium with it. When you get it perfectly balanced. Al-musawa is an equation, right? Al-musawa is equal. So yusawwi is we make things and it's perfect. It's exactly the balance. An equation in Arabic is understood as a balance. So 5 equals 5. You put them, it's a balance. The mizan, the scale is going to be balanced. That's why it's equal. So taswiya is when you come to a settlement. Taswiyah in Arabic in the courts is a settlement. Why we're settling things? We're evening it all, we're becoming a balance. Nusawwi is when in Arabic we use this in slang to say to do something. But what it really means in Arabic is to do it with perfect balance. Do it perfectly. So bala, the answer, أَيَحْسَبُ الْإِنسَانِ, does the human being think, actually think, that we cannot gather his bones again? Bala, of course we are. قَادِرِينَ عَلَىٰ أَن نُسَوِّيَ بَنَانَهُ. We are capable of performing, of resurrecting him and bringing him back in detail as his al-banan is the fingerprint. This is the banan. We are going to reconstruct with detail his fingerprints. You're going to look at this finger of yours, take a microscope and start seeing all these insanely weird looking lines that are very, very small and very stuck, and they're very accurate. They're distinctive to you as a human being. There's been 100 billion people and there's been 100 billion different fingerprints, and if more people are created, there'll be more fingerprints that'll be different, because it's just never two that are going to be exactly the same. That's how small they are. That's how accurate all this is. He's going to bring you back, he's going to bring back down to the detail. I mean, because you think, well, maybe he'll bring us back more like a Frankenstein type of thing, like just clump us all together enough for us to kind of take a walk. No. But qadirina, we are capable, we're competent enough to bring back his fingerprint. This is an argument, my brothers and sisters, not of fear or of desire. This is an argument of basic logic. If he created you from nothing, why are you finding it so difficult to comprehend that he will bring you back again once you die? Is it the gathering of the bones that you're struggling with? Why is that such a struggle? If he brought you forward from nothing, if he created you to begin with, if you were once nothing and then turned into something, why is the concept of it coming back again so complicated or tiring? Where does that complexity come from? What, because you feel like it's, but now in the grave there's nothing left, it's just bones, and then it goes back into the earth and it's gone. But you're struggling with the gathering of all of it, of bringing the cells back together, bringing the elements and making cells and making the bones and putting it all together. So he says, subhanahu wa ta'ala, not only are we going to bring you back, and put your bones back together, we're going to construct it down to the detail of your fingerprint. We're going to construct you down to the exact detail of your fingerprint once you were alive. So you're going to come out and you're going to find no difference between how you were, how you remembered yourself to be, and how you are on the Day of Judgment. And that is the first argument that he makes here, subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he takes the oath by Yawm al-Qiyamah. And then he says, Bal yuridu al-insan. Bal is a sentence in Arabic. And it denies what was said before and confirms something afterwards. So when he says Bal, what he's saying is the following. That's really not the problem for the human being. It's not that he doesn't think that we are capable of gathering his bones. It's easy for the human being to come to a conclusion that, if he created me from nothing, then putting my bones together is not going to be a big challenge for him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. The reason that he's refusing Yawm al-Qiyamah, because that's the whole point of this, right? The whole point of this is, why is he took an oath by Yawm al-Qiyamah, and he's saying, well, why don't people accept it? Why aren't you living as if you're going to be held accountable? Why don't you understand they're going to be held accountable? A stand is going to be taken about you in the future, and live according to that, live based on that. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you utilizing the system that he put inside of you to save you that day? What's going to save you that day? It's that system that's installed inside of you, that nafs al-lawwama, that conscience. It will guide you. You will make the right choice 10 times out of 10 if you listen to it before you make a decision, before you say anything, before you do anything. It will save you every time. That's the ease of it. So why aren't you using it? There's Yawm al-Qiyamah, and there's the tool to make sure you are successful. So why aren't they doing it? Because the human being thinks that we can't bring his bones back. We're going to bring him back to the detail of his fingerprint. But that's not the real problem. That's not the real reason. The real reason is not that he does not believe. يُرِيدُ الْإِنسَانُ لِيَفْجُرَ أَمَامَهُ. The human being wants the capacity to do fujur in his future. Fujur means to fall off to break the law, to break not Canadian law, to break the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To do fujur is to do whatever you want, is to feed in to every desire and whim that you have on the inside that you know is not necessarily healthy. We all know that there are things that we want that we shouldn't necessarily want. There are itches that you want to scratch that you probably should never scratch. But we want to. We would love to have a way where we could do that blame-free. We want to do this blame-free. Please draw for me a picture of life where I don't have to worry about accountability, where I don't have to worry about a day where stands are going to be taken, where my conscience can shut up, can be quiet, so I can go ahead and enjoy, and steal, and take, and fool, and betray, and enjoy wealth, and enjoy drink, and enjoy sex, and enjoy status, and just do whatever I want in life, blame-free, where I don't have to worry about my conscience coming back and asking me, or I worry about some form of divine judgment that's going to happen on a day. I don't want any of that. I just need an excuse so I can do the wrong thing, so I can do what I want to do, what my nafs wants to do. That's what the human being wants. The human being wants a blame-free story where he can just succumb to all of his whims and desires. That's what the human being really wants. Because all of these regulations are tiring, right? They're tiring. They're not fun, like up front. When you're young and you're healthy, you feel like, well, why can't I do this again? Why is this haram? Why am I not allowed to behave that way? Why can't I eat this or drink that or go out with this person? Or what's the problem with all this? Everyone seems to be enjoying it. I would love to smoke that and try that and inject this and go over there and play this. It's a thought process that's there. And then you have all these regulations. You can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. So sometimes you need a rationale. You need to put together a story, a reasoning that allows for you to do that blame-free. Like, this is why I do it. Right? You need that. In order for the conscience to be killed, you have to reason with it. You have to come up with a story or a narrative but subhanAllah, it stays alive. Like the nafs, even if you come with the best reasoning of why it's okay to perform zina and to drink alcohol and to do drugs and to, one night stands and all that other garbage, you can reason for it. But your nafs will continue to bother you like your nafs al-lawama, your conscience, will continue to bother you for a while. Which is why people feel so bad. Which is why people have like bad days after they do all these things. They don't feel good afterwards. They don't come after a week of partying, but they feel horrible and they've got depressed for a while because their conscience is heavy on them. It takes a while for them to get rid of that. Like it takes into their 60s and 70s where they have completely killed it off and now they can do whatever they want. I see it all the time. No blame at all. They don't feel any blame at all for wasting their wealth on stuff that are meaningless while others die. Like they don't care. They have completely made peace with it, which is a horrible thing. But that's how they chose to live their lives. Bal, the truth is, yuridul insan, the human being wants, liyafjura amamah. He wants to be able to perform actions that he wants that is wrong in his future, like as he moves forward. And we stop there, right? Okay, so we'll end with that because I don't think this point of the ayat continue to explain. The ayat are all just giving you the reason. The ayat are telling us what the reasoning of the human being is. This is a form of da'wah. It's like, here's why you're thinking this way. Here's what you really want. Here's what your nafs wants. When you understand that, you can deal with it more maturely. You can deal with it in a much more productive manner. When you understand why you feel the way you feel. It's not just, I feel that way. I understand you feel that way. You want this, right? Yes, I want it. Do you understand why? No, I just know that I want it. No, that's not. Come on. What, you're a goat? You can figure out why. Why do you want this? Ask the question. It's scary because the answer is not nice. But ask why you want it. And then once you figure out why, ask why again. And then the more you ask, the more you'll find out about yourself. And at the end, you'll feel very ashamed because like this ain't good. I'm not proud of this. And this is not something I should be playing. It's not a hand I should be playing into. It's not something I should be entertaining to begin with. So the verses continue to talk about how the human being processes this stuff. So read them. Like after you've heard this kind of bit of an introduction to the surah, read it on your own and see if you'll follow along with the logic clearly. And you'll see how he builds the case, subhanahu wa ta'ala, very clearly, just based on simple reasoning of why it is you should live purposefully. Purposefully, that's how the surah will end. Purposefully, not to live without purpose. You don't live sudah. Meaningless. You're going to live with aim. There's more to you than just these whims. There's much more to you. And I find that to be a beautiful way to perform da'wah because people love to think that. Okay, one with that inshallah. Subhanaka bihamdika shalla la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka wa 'azzama ala nabiyyina wa habibina wa qurrati a'yunina Muhammad